fly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
There's a fly.
Okay.
Oh,
We all
cool.
carry traditions every year. They can be for anything, like some of us use Christmas trees for Christmas, and we decorate Easter eggs for Easter. How many of you carve pumpkins every year for Halloween? So if you don't carve pumpkins every year, it's something that you should consider because it's a great tradition to do that's fun to do with family, friends, or like anyone. And it's just a lot of fun that brings people closer together. So I have some tricks and tips that I've used over the years because my family carves pumpkins every year for Halloween. And my dad is a complete perfectionist, so I've learned a little bit of the art of pumpkin carving over the years, and I'd like to show you guys some important steps to that. Also, pumpkins are like the #1 fall decoration in America, like used everywhere. And what better way to decorate your house for fall than like a self-carved pumpkin that you can take pride in because you made it yourself. So, some of the tips I've used. Some of the things that you need to keep in mind are where to pick out your pumpkin. There's a lot involved when you're picking out the perfect pumpkin. How to trace your pumpkin before you carve it, because if you're not artistic like me, a lot can go wrong if you trace it wrong. Carving the pumpkin itself, because there's some techniques with the knives that can get pretty crazy. And finally lighting the candle and putting it inside to make your masterpiece glow. And some excess uses with like the rest of pumpkins that you wouldn't normally know that you could do. So that brings us to the first step, picking out the perfect pumpkin. This is a pumpkin I picked out at a place in Pickerington. There's pumpkin farms everywhere. If you need to find some, there's a website called pumpkinpatchesandmore.org, and it's got like all the pumpkin patches in Ohio, and you can go find one near you. And when you go, there's typically like thousands of pumpkins everywhere, and it's kind of overwhelming because it's really hard to find your perfect pumpkin when there's like a million of them. So some things to help you narrow it down. One, you want to look for one that's not too big, unless you're looking for a huge pumpkin, but they're kind of hard to transport around, and it takes forever to clean the insides out. Other than that, pumpkins, the color you want to look for, don't go too dark orange because that means it's older and it'll be closer to rotting and it won't last as long. You can get a white pumpkin. I know they sell white pumpkins some places for decoration if you want, but you really want to go for like a vibrant orange or like a lighter-ish shade of orange. That means it's just right. Another thing to keep in mind when you're looking for pumpkins is pricing. If you're paying over $15 for a pumpkin, it's definitely overpriced. I got this one for like $4, and it's like pretty good size. It's just medium in between. When you look for pumpkins, sometimes you find stuff on the sides of them. Sometimes it's like mold, sometimes it's dirt. Don't get it confused, because if you find a good pumpkin and there's dirt on it, you can always wash it off. But if you find a pumpkin with mold on the side, this one doesn't have any, then you definitely want to avoid it because it's old and it'll just be gross. Okay, so now that you have your perfect pumpkin, you need to, first of all, you want to use like a surface with like newspapers or old papers like I've used here. It gets pretty messy and it's really gross. So, the first thing you want to do is use a pencil or a Sharpie. I used a marker, black marker, and you want to trace out the areas where you want to carve your pumpkin. First I used a pencil because I'm really not that artistic, and I knew I'd mess up with a marker the first time, so I did everything with a pencil and made sure I got it where I wanted it, and then I traced over it with the marker. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're tracing your pumpkin is to keep it very spaced out, because the closer together you make your facial parts, the sooner they'll fall in and collapse because there's not much space in between, so you want to space your face out. Other than that, it's completely up to you what you want your pumpkin to look like. That's like one of the greatest things about pumpkins, because you can decorate anything on them, from like patterns to any type of face so it looks like someone, but that's how you can trace your pumpkin. Next becomes the actual pumpkin carving itself. There's different types of knives you can use. I used 2 knives. I used a larger knife and a smaller knife. This large knife I used mainly just for the incisions and just to kind of do the whole thing. But then I used the smaller knife for like touch up and like to get the little chips in between, because it's hard to carve perfect the first time. pick out your big knife. You always want to start on the top because it's easier just to get it out of the way, and it gives you access to the inside if you need. The first incision you make should just be somewhere along the circle, it doesn't matter what angle. But one thing you want to keep in mind when you're cutting the top of your pumpkin is to go in at an angle, because if you cut straight up and down, then every time you go to put the lid on, it'll fall straight through. And that's something that took me a while to practice, because it comes in handy when you want to like keep your top on and light the candle. So make sure you go in at an angle, and once you get your first incision in, it can be kind of hard depending on how thick your pumpkin is to like get around the whole side. So you just kind of want to saw it in a saw motion, or just like wedge it through and try to keep along the line as best you can. I did not that good of a job, but it's easy to stay along the line. And then you get your top out. The first thing I do when I get the top out is cut off, like there'll be a bunch of orange pumpkin guts, my family calls them, and you just want to like kind of cut that off so it's not in the way, and you can set your top aside. Then we move on to the face, which is tricky depending on the shapes that you've used. I used the typical triangle jack-o'-lantern that you would see most places. It's pretty common. I didn't get too creative because I'm not that skilled at pumpkin carving completely, but for the triangles, they're pretty simple. You just do the same like you did in the top and wedge your knife in along the line, and you just kind of want to saw it down the sides and go all the way around. And once your corners meet where you started cutting, it should come out pretty easily and just pop out. And like the top, I did cut off the orange. So, all my facial features out. This is where the little knife really comes in handy, because like when you cut out your triangles, there's like a bunch of mess inside, and it's easy to like chip them and not get them straight. But if you use the little knife and just touch up the edges, it comes out pretty straight. The mouth was definitely the hardest because of the curves of the smile. Curves are very difficult. You just gotta remember to go slow and like wedge your way around, not too hastily, because that can make you mess up like I did. It's missing a tooth. But now that you have your faces out, it is time to clean out the pumpkin, which is the grossest yet most fun part of pumpkin carving. There's a bunch of orange pumpkin guts inside, like I said, and the quickest way to do it, I use a kitchen tools. There's ladles. You can use any type of big spoon. I like this one because I have the teeth on it. And you just have to get in there and like scoop out the guts in the inside. And make sure you have a trash can next to you so you can just dump them out somewhere. This part is really messy because there's a lot, but it shouldn't take too long depending on the size of your pumpkin. So after you have the whole inside cleaned out, which I did earlier, you can go ahead and light your jack-o'-lantern. And when you're cleaning it out, you can save the seeds for later, and I'll show you some uses you can have with them. Okay, you want to put your candle in before you light your candle because it's easy to burn yourself. I've experienced it. When you light it and then try to stick it down in there. So put your candle where you want. It doesn't really matter. Typically go in the middle or toward the front so you can see it lit. Reach the lighter in. You can use any type of lighter, but it's easiest to use a long one. Okay. And there is your jack-o'-lantern. Okay, now for the excess uses of the seeds. I saved my pumpkin seeds ahead of time. There's several different uses for them that you guys probably wouldn't typically know about. I didn't know about it until I researched. But there's a website I use called creatingagreenworld.com, and it was like all these ways you can recycle pumpkin seeds. And here's a couple of them. The two main benefits of them are, one, they taste good, and two, the health that pumpkin seeds have. This may surprise you. So when you eat pumpkin seeds, like you can make dishes out of them and all sorts of stuff. First of all, you can roast them like I did by themselves. You can set them on a tray, bake them in the oven for like an hour or so, put some salt on them, and just eat them by themselves. You can make sweet potato soup with pumpkin seeds, warm pumpkin salad, and even a trail mix of like granola, all types of nuts, fruits, and pumpkin seeds. And I've tried that. It is really good. pumpkin seed brittle, which I still have yet to try, but it sounds good. And for the health aspect of pumpkin seeds, some of the things you may not know, they help pulmonary ailments, which is your kidneys, depression treatment, anti-inflammatory, lowers cholesterol, and can help prevent kidney stones. So if you didn't have a good reason to carve pumpkin before, now you do. So I hope that you've learned some creative ways that you can carve pumpkins, some helpful tricks and tips. You know what to do to decorate your house for fall, and it's a fun activity to bring you and your family and friends together to do something. Thank you for listening, and now you can